Good evening. It's Vijay here. Welcome to yet another weekend commentary or my weekend thoughts on the markets and beyond. So here we discuss what's happened last week, some important things, and what may affect us in the near future. So let's take it step by step. The first thing which I want to talk about today is about Trump bullying everybody, so much so India. Now, I always wonder as to why he takes India's name and he speaks very harshly about India, especially what he did on Friday when he said that we have exposed India. When he also calls Mr. Modi as he's his friend and also a very tough negotiator. The Indian team is negotiating in the US, and apparently it looks like we have given up on many things which the US wanted. Whether it is a reality or whether it is Trump's bluff, we don't know. But he is bullying us to that extent that we may be forced to give up more than what we should normally give up. Consider this with what China has done, what Canada has done, and what some European nations have done. So they have stood up to Trump and said, we are going to reciprocate tariffs and we are not going to allow, for instance, Musk's Starlink. South Africa says it will not allow. Mexico says it will not allow. So you have had, the country standing up to Trump and telling him to just lay off. Whereas India has been quiet. Whether it is a strategic quiet or whether it is cowardice quiet, we will know in the next few days. But Trump is definitely bullying India by the kind of statements we are seeing. So I think one of the problems why we are have being targeted is because he keeps on talking about Tesla's entry and the motorcycle entry of Harley Davidson. He talks of Harley Davidson having 100% tariff. Actually, they were having 60%. Now, in the recent budget, it has come down to 30%. So, to continuously harp that Harley Davidson we are charging 100% is completely false. But there is nobody in the country who's standing up to him, which I find very unusual. So, this is what Trump's latest statement talks about. Every country takes advantage of us. They do it with tariffs. It's impossible to sell a car practically in India. If you build the factory, if Musk build the factory in India, that's okay, but that's unfair to us. So it's very unfair. So I think probably he is being governed by what Musk's interests are. So Trump's interest today against India seems to be aligned with Musk's interest. That is a very sad thing. So I wonder when we will get up and then say that we will, stand up to him. See, on Friday, for instance, he said India signals readiness to make deeper tariff cuts. You should know, in US is India's largest trading partner, but India is US's ninth largest trading partner. So if he has to shout at people, he should be shouting at the top eight people. For instance, Canada, Mexico, China. These are the top three. Apart from that, you have other countries which are well ahead of India. So I don't know. I find it very amusing, not amusing, I would say unusual that he is targeting India when he says Modi is his friend. So I think the Prime Minister has to stand up for India at least. So I also feel to some extent the selling by FPIs, for instance, in the first week of March, they sold 24,753 crores. In February entirely, they sold 34,000 crores. So the way they are selling, it looks like they will cross February's numbers. I have a strong feeling this could be selling by US institutions trying to pressurize India into, let's say, surrendering to Trump. Now, if India stands up, and it should, if we consider we're a great country, we should stand up. And if we stand up, I think we'll gain. Maybe the foreigners will leave for some time. We'll suffer a pain, but we will gain in the medium to long term. We don't know whether our prime minister will stand up to him, but this is the situation. So now let's look at the positive points. Before that, let me talk about some negative points which everybody from the astrologers to technical analysts to the casual financial influencers are all talking about Nifty going back to some 18,000 to 15,000. I don't know why they are coming up with these numbers and from where they're coming up with these numbers, because one by one, things are becoming positive in India. The first one, as I mentioned, is whereas on GST rates, Nirmala Sitharaman now talks of reducing the GST rates and the slabs. That is point number one. Then look at what Nifty has done. For 3 weeks before this week, continuously market fell, but last week the market has gone up, yet people are not even looking at it positively. So if you see that these red bars are when markets have fallen, this is the first time it has gone up. Of course, it went up 4 5 weeks ago, but next week it went and then again it fell. So we have never had about say 3 weeks, 3 positive weeks in 2025. So we have to see first of all whether we get the second positive week. But the number of positive signals which are coming into the Indian economy makes me feel that we will get a second positive week. One of the big signals is this US dollar index. People said US dollar index will go to 110, 115 and all that. This is a weekly chart of the dollar index. But you see, dollar index now has broken 104. I was mentioning that 104 is the first target. It's already broken that on Friday. So if people said that FPIs are selling India because the rupee is becoming weak and therefore dollar becoming strong, and so it's worthwhile to repatriate, then the dollar is becoming weak. And then you look at the other one. The other one is the oil. Brent crude, they said it will touch 100. Today it is we are talking of some thing less than 73, 72, like that. So this is another positive thing for India. Then let's look at Indian rupee, for instance. It's broken the 87 on the downside. It had gone to 88 levels. They said it will go to 90, 92, 95, 100. But you see, why has it fallen? Why has it become strong? It has become strong for many reasons, including the dollar becoming weak. So I expect dollar to become weak, which means rupee will become strong, which means if any FIs sell, they will be losing money. And look at what Morgan Stanley, a big brokerage house and the first FII to come to India in 1994, talks about. It's an oversold equity market. So fundamentals seem to be improving. It was a soft patch in the last 3 quarters, but now if you compare the next quarter results with the results which was there last year, first quarter of 24-25, the results will automatically look good. I've been harping on the fact that the results automatically will be good. At least we'll get a 10% improvement in the results on the Nifty. If we are going to get it, then the EPS goes up by 10%. As it is, we are sitting at a PE of 20, which is one of the lowest. Somewhat like when we were in the after pandemic, we have never seen this low PE ratio of Nifty in India. So when you are again getting a 10% growth, which means the EPS will grow 10%, which means the PE ratio at the same prices will come down 10%. Then it will be remarkably cheap to buy Indian stocks. But nobody is thinking on those lines. So that is one thing. Then next week, what we are going to see is CPI and IIP data. I am fairly confident the CPI data will be good in terms of the CPI being down, because traditionally February, March times the inflation comes down. IIP data will be good because if you look at the purchasing manager index, which has gone up, so that will show you that the IIP will be good. We also have a holy break, and then that's what about the IPOs are there, apart to SME IPOs. So there are no big IPOs. So the money is not going to get sucked out in terms of IPOs or FPOs. Of course, March is a month when the liquidity is low because people have to pay taxes and people have to do tax planning. So therefore, there may be some pressure. But when do you want to buy stocks? Sometime when you want to buy stocks is when you get an opportunity, sometimes when the prices are low. I am not a SEBI registered advisor. I'm not saying you should go and buy stocks, but what we are doing is whenever we get money, we are going ahead and buying stock. Whatever you do, whatever you think is right, please go ahead and do. Thank you for joining me. Have a good evening.